Okay, so this is part 16 on how I became an international smuggler and found myself working through the US federal prison system, how I basically lost everything and more than I can possibly imagine, and my road back to where I am today. So part 16, I dropped off the big wig down at the Four Seasons. But from that point on, we were under surveillance. And look, there were a couple of key points, or definitely some telltale signs. I went to the boat show once, and I was walking around, and I just felt this. Every time I looked around, I seen this short, fat guy, and it was just weird. You started looking around for those things, and I just kept seeing people in different situations. And so what happened over the next little while was, so I just kept seeing little signs, and of course that happened. We were stockpiling this big order, but I was still flying a little bit, but I was mainly working on this big order. So what actually happened was, on December 24th, the warehouse that was all getting stored in got raided. We all found out, I believe, Christmas Day, and it was a bit of pandemonium because there was easily a couple $1 million worth of stuff in there and a lot of work. So we still tried to keep a positive attitude and believe that it was just an off chance. Absolutely stupid. But what actually happened is when they raided that and they seized all of that stuff, it set off a few chain reactions. Look, nobody got popped initially, or should I say arrested, but everyone's product that was down there, it was one particular group that were really pissed off. And it was a Vietnamese gang, and they weren't happy. So how it generally works is when your stuff is intercepted, there's generally public paperwork of what was seized. You can hand that paperwork over to the people that it was and go, unfortunately, all bets are off. But what the federal government did is they seized those documents. So we couldn't verify that it was actually in the raid. There was a number in there, but it got down to the point that they didn't believe us. So a meeting was called, and I had to go to this meeting with 3 other people. It was down in Chinatown. And look, when I was picked up, everyone was pretty tense. I was hungry. I don't know why, but I was hungry. I heard we were going for Chinese food, I believe Vietnamese food. And I just knew what I wanted to order for food. I didn't think it would be a big deal. We'd walk in, we would plead our case and just say, tough shit, this is the way it goes. Nobody else, you have this mind of what you think these players were, but they were essentially business guys that didn't deal too much in that heavy underworld frame. So when we walked in, we went. I remember looking around. There was a bunch of people, having dinner and stuff at this restaurant. And pretty soon I figured out that we weren't there for dinner, and some pew-pews came out, and everything got very, very tense very quickly. And I had I don't know whether it was trust me, I'm not saying I'm any sort of gangster, and I wasn't fear. I was scared, but you're never going to let on that you were scared. The others actually let on, and they wanted us to pay. And I told them, I'm not paying. I was the last person to see it, but I know I hadn't been paid. So it was a little bit of a standoff. Those things were pulled out and a lot of threats were made. I simply said, out of everyone sitting here, I'm the only one that can actually get anything, make the money back, or have any hope of it. So if you end me, you end the whole thing. So take your choice. And now that I look back at the three guys I was with that all hung me out to dry, I simply said, you guys got me into this, and I'll get us out of it. But we left there. What actually happened at that meeting is they wanted everyone's wallets, and I didn't have a wallet on me because I only had cash. I was in that world, so I only carried cash. These other three morons had their wallets. They took their driver's license out, and photographs were taken of where they lived. So then they knew who everyone was. But they didn't know who I was, and I certainly wasn't going to give that up. So we got back in the car. Everyone was quite angry. Everyone was quite wound up. And I'll tell you what I was. I was hungry because I thought we were going out for dinner, and no dinner was had. So they were all angry at me because I really wasn't on the hook because they didn't know where I lived. Well, suck it up, buttercup. I don't carry a wallet. So you're the idiots. But I've still got to fly the chopper. So all's fair in love and war. So what the resolution was over the next couple of days is we were going to pay them. I definitely wasn't a part of this deal. $100,000 a month in interest, plus whatever we owed them, which I believe was $101 or $1.5 million. Whatever. It wasn't coming out of my half. It was all your guys' contacts, and they were shit. So I started flying. I think I did one more trip, and then something happened. And basically, some of the ground crew, boom, they all started getting raided. And the one guy that I brought up, he actually took off to Spain. And I believe he fought his case for the next 4 or 5 years for extradition from Spain. But what had actually happened in the grand scheme of things is on those recon trips, and when I went down to the United States to meet this guy, they were already under surveillance. What I found out later is they were literally a week away from being arrested. And one day I rolled up to a car park in Bellingham, Washington to meet this guy and go for a bit of a drive on how it would all work. And the authorities just said, let's see where this goes. So that's how they end up tailing me and tailing the whole organization. So we were hooped before we even started, and I blame it on our on the guy that set it all up. Like the minute we started, we were already done. But I'll tell you about a few other ones as we get into the story that were done before they started. So they all were getting arrested. Some guys took off. They were hot, and that made us hot. Well, we didn't know that we were hot. I assumed that we were going to get arrested up in Canada, but nothing ever happened. So we laid low for about 2 or 3 weeks, and everyone sort of gathered their thoughts and went, what do you want to do? And they said, well, nothing happened up here, so we must be all good. Let's just get another ground crew. Okay, so this idiot, the broker, set up a meeting with another guy that he used to do business with down in Seattle, and he came up to Abbotsford to have a meeting with us. And this guy, he would turn out to be a peach. Stay tuned. Number 17.